Two things. So it's great for the price, an excellent value. Like I said, I don't think you can get a better smartwatch for $100. And I'm really, really happy about this. I think if you do not have a smartwatch for $100, this is a great point of entry into smartwatches. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. And today I'm going to be doing my full review on the Amazfit Active 2 watch. So let's just hop into it. So as the title states, this watch is not just a pretty face. And here's what I mean by that. So when I originally got this watch, I knew I wanted to get some additional bands and accessories for this watch. And I did so. And I feel like this is the absolute best look for this watch. So we'll start off with in the looks department. Like I said in the original video, this watch is a straight up banger. This is a really, really good look. And this is kind of my setup with the watch. I love the stainless steel bezel here. The back is plastic, so I'll go ahead and show you that. But you can't really see it when you're wearing the watch. This is an easy watch to dress up. I would give this thing a 9.5 out of 10, especially with a mesh band. So if you get a mesh band, the only watch that would rival it would be the Apple Watch in stainless steel. The looks speak for themselves. You can wear this with a black band. You can watch my original video. That's the band it came with. I do not have the red band. I plan on getting that. But like I said, this is a knockout watch, especially for $100. It doesn't look cheap. It uses standard watch bracelets. So you just slide this piece here. I'm not gonna take it off. And the watch band will come off, and it's pretty easy, and you can put any band on. But I would say the best looking bands are gonna be the black, red, and a mesh band like this. Just FYI, I forgot to order one when I ordered this watch on Amazon, and I ended up just going to Walmart and buying this band for 10 bucks. So highly recommend that. That's what we'll say about the looks. As far as the hardware goes, I really like this watch, and I don't think there's a better value in watches as far as hardware goes. Now, I'm gonna say this. I don't know if they accidentally gave me the sapphire lens on this watch, but I do not have a scratch on this watch face. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just say this, and I actually was eating some beans out of a cast iron skillet, and I forgot it was there, and I hopped on to the bed because I was watching TV in bed, and I hit this watch on the cast iron skillet, and it didn't dent the watch. It didn't scratch the screen. So I don't know what kind of glass they're putting on this. I didn't order the sapphire one. I would highly recommend getting that, but I would say even if you don't, this is a pretty robust watch. I have not dropped it. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But the hardware, as far as the exterior, it's premium. The band that you get with it is very nice. It's like a sports band with the holes in it. I don't have it with me, but it's very comfortable. It's a great all-day watch. I mean, it looks good with everything, business casual, casual clothing, pajamas. I mean, it's not gonna look as good as this when you're wearing a suit or something like that, or a button-up. All right, folks, I'm gonna jump into this part of the video and just say this. So the hardware externally is solid, and I love the fact that the watch has a heart rate monitor, an altimeter, a temperature sensor. It also has a blood oxygen sensor. Those things are great. They are not as refined and responsive as the ones on the Apple Watch. I will say that. And I did forget to mention in this video that the vibration or haptic motor is not as strong as your Apple Watch. So basically the theme here is that it's not just a pretty face, but it's not quite on the level of the Apple Watch. I want to make that clear in this video. Thank you for watching. Let's jump back into it. I'm gonna give the hardware an 8 out of 10. So with the hardware, I give it a high rating because this is an inexpensive watch and everything functions to me. The reason why I don't give it a 9 or a 10, and you could potentially give it lower, is that when you're comparing it to the Apple Watch, the hardware is good, but it is not as fluid, and you can just tell it's not quite as strong as the Apple Watch. So whenever you, and I'll show you an overhead view, I'll try to show you this. Whenever you move this around, you can tell that was stolen from iOS. But the graphic isn't as, it's more flat. Whereas the iPhone, you can see the individual tiles moving, and it's just a more intense graphic one. And then you can just tell it's not quite as peppy as the Apple Watch whenever you're doing cardio or fitness. I have noticed that. It's not that much slower. Most of the time, you won't even be able to tell the difference. But having had several Apple Watches, I can tell their processors are a little bit better. And then also, you cannot store music on here. So I don't think that's a limitation of the software for this watch. I think that's a limitation of the hardware and the memory. I mean, to me, this watch is more robust exterior-wise than the Apple Watch, especially with the screen scratching and the fact that you get stainless steel at $100 and you don't have to like price up to get that. All right, folks, thank you for continuing to watch. So I got a little tongue-tied in this portion of the video, so I'll kind of clarify what I was saying. So in this part, I'm basically saying the best ability is availability. So the Apple Watch is definitely better in the hardware department. It's just a little bit stronger, more refined with the sensors working faster, more frequently having success. But in this part of the video, I'm talking about the watch being available and that being a strength with this hardware. So let's get back into it. If you've ever worked with somebody who's stellar and who's a rock star and they're killing it, but they're in and out, they can't stay on task, they're not there half the time, it's really frustrating. It's one of those things where I would rather have somebody who consistently comes in, 90+% of the time they're available, than to have a rock star that's available 50% of the time. And that is the primary reason why I got this watch. So this is probably my favorite hardware piece. It's almost a tie with the aesthetic, the external, but it's greater, or else I wouldn't have even bought this watch. And that is the battery life. The battery life on this watch is really, really good. It lasts like 4.5+ days for me, and that's like moderate to medium use. Like I usually exercise or go on a walk once a day, and I absolutely love having a watch, a smartwatch that I do not have to worry about charging every day. If you have an Apple Watch, even if you have an Apple Watch Ultra, you only get a day and a half out of that watch. But for, the 80+% of the population that's rocking the Apple Watch regular 41, 42, 45, 46 millimeter, you're having to charge that thing every day. When you wear a watch, you don't really have to worry about charging it. And that's why I say this is a great gateway watch, because you can get this smartwatch and wear it for 5 days and then charge it. So as long as you charge it pretty much once a week, you're going to be good versus every day. This watch out of the box has 3 times plus the battery life of an Apple Watch. I have to charge my phone every day or sometimes multiple times a day, and having to do that with a watch is just a hassle. And that's why I say that is probably the Achilles heel of the Apple Watch. It's because it's something you wear. My phone, I pull out of my pocket, is detached. A digital camera is detached. My laptop is detached. But a device that I wear, I really don't want to have to take off every day to charge it. Overall, this looks better than your standard Apple Watch. We're just going to recap. The battery life is better than your Apple Watch, and it's more robust hardware-wise than your Apple Watch. The only place where the Apple Watch wins is in power, and you're really not going to notice that unless you're doing a lot of things with the watch. All right, and another thing that I didn't mention about hardware is the sound on this watch. So for a watch, it sounds pretty good. Whenever you're on a call or, it's reading off some fitness stuff to you, the speaker is plenty enough good. I'm going to give that 7.5, 8 out of 10. I mean, I don't think any smartwatch is going to be a 10. I mean, it's a small watch. If you're looking at the price, I'm going to say it's a 9.5 out of 10. The fact that it has a loudspeaker, and I took a call, and a friend of mine said it sounded good. I was outside kind of moving around a lot, and she said she could tell I wasn't on a traditional phone. But for me, really not holding it up to my mouth and having to do this and that and toggle back and forth, it's a really good buy and something I don't think you'll complain about, especially if it's your first watch or even if you have an Apple Watch. Starting with software, I'm going to say this about this watch. 2 things at the top of this. Number 1 is it's not as polished as an Apple Watch. And then number two is that if you are a Garmin or a Fitbit fitness junkie, this probably is going to be somewhat of a frustrating device for you. I would say this more accurately challenges or rivals the Apple Watch just because it's for Gen Pop people who do fitness, who track their sleep, maybe track some macros, that kind of thing, but they're not going hardcore. This is a great notification device, sleep tracking. When you wake up, it gives you a summary, it gives you an insight score. And I will say this, like I love those types of things. When I wake up and it tells me, hey, you didn't sleep as well, it uses your heart rate. I think it uses the temperature and the time that you slept, and it kind of gives you a score. I wouldn't take it as a doctor speaking with you, but I think it's helpful information. So it can kind of tell you if you had a more quality night's sleep than the day before. It may give you a 74, 84, and I wouldn't too closely look at the numbers, but look and see if they're trending up or down. I think that would be helpful for you. It does a good enough job. I'm not comparing it side by side with an Apple Watch. I didn't wear this with my Apple Watch to test heart rate. I think the data is just as helpful from that. I don't think you're going to get any more or less, better insights from either system. But I will say this, the Apple Watch is going to integrate into iOS a little bit better. And then jumping back to notifications, like this is a great notification device. Like the screen is a great size. To me, it's easier to read. This circular dial display is easier to read and just more convenient than looking at my Apple Watch, if I'm being honest. I think this is just a better form factor for that. So when I wake up and I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing what the temperature is, that kind of thing. But you cannot see pictures, you cannot see videos, and you cannot reply to text messages from the native text app on iOS or from Facebook Messenger. So sometimes I list things on Facebook Messenger, or cousins or people may reach out to me and send me something through Facebook Messenger, and I can see it, which is half the battle, but I can't reply to it. So there's some lost, interaction there. So that is one drawback if you have iOS. The experience with this watch versus the more integrated experience with the Apple Watch is kind of like buying a Camry or a Mercedes-Benz. Yes, the Mercedes-Benz is going to be more comfortable to drive. Yes, it's going to tell you the PSI in each wheel versus the Camry is just telling you if you have low tire pressure in a wheel. The Mercedes is going to give you more information. If you have a rear tail light out, it'll tell you which bulb. The Camry is just going to tell you that a bulb is out. And I think that's kind of the difference. The Apple Watch is going to be about at least 2 times more. And I don't think it's worth twice as much as this watch. I have to say that. To some, it may be. Like if you're a diehard iOS and you just want the best, most easiest, user-friendly use case or just experience, you want to go with the Apple Watch. But I don't think you can make any complaints with this watch being $100, having the hardware, and being as robust as it is. Some of the complaints that I have about this watch, and I'll just get into them, is that with the software, so looking at fitness, like I said, if you're a fitness junkie, you should probably really stick with the Garmin. This is a nice watch for the casual user, the person who works out 3 or 4 times a week. But I will say things like if you're going on a jog or you're walking and you have it tracking, which is fine. You just press this bottom button natively and you can scroll through and choose a workout. And it's easy enough when you do outdoor, when you do walking, or if you're doing like weightlifting, it says strength training. Those things are easy enough to get into, but I will say it's not as refined. So last night when I was walking, I tried to get the watch face to go back to its home screen and it couldn't do it. So when I was walking and it was tracking my fitness, I could only scroll over to a map or scroll over to music or end or pause the workout. I couldn't go back to the home screen, check the weather. I was actually trying to see what time it was, and so I couldn't go back and do that. That was a little bit annoying. And then also it by default reads your pace and things out loud. And so you can press this bottom button when you're walking and it'll record a lap time and it'll give you a summary. I don't really want that being said out loud. It's fine, but it's, it may be cool to some people, but I don't really care for that. And then also the same thing when you're doing traditional strength training. I love the way the Apple Watch is set up to where you just go, you press a button, you scroll up to the workout you're doing. And in this case, we're talking about strength training. And I click on strength training and it just calculates my calories based on my heart rate. It's not trying to do reps and things like that. So on this watch, it'll say rep 1, and then it wants you to get done and press rep 1 and then go back and do that. And that's not what I want to do. Like, I mean, I know some people are super technical with that, but if I'm doing strength training, I don't really care about that. Just tell me my calories, my overall heart rate, variability during that workout, and that's all I need. And then also, you can't play music off this device. You have to have it tied to your phone. So one of the things I love about having an Apple Watch is being able to go to the gym, scan my watch to get in, and then just wear my watch and be listening to music and be able to scroll through and change my music. And you cannot do that on this phone. So for some people, I think that's where those are little sacrifices that some people are like, I don't want to make, because this cannot be a standalone device. Like, you cannot get a cellular data plan on this device. That is another drawback. I think the Z app offers a lot of customization going to that app. Like, it's easy to use. One of the things I love is that you can set a time for the always on display. So for me personally, I have mine on from 8 to 5. That's typically when I'm at work. That's typically when I'm, out and about. And so I like the always on display. I came from an Apple Watch 7, Series 7 originally. I've always had the always on display, and I like that. But at night when I'm at home or I'm hanging out with friends, I'm at a restaurant or something like that, I don't need to have the always on display. And if I wanted to do that, I could change it to where, on the weekends, it would be on all day or something like that. So I think that's cool. You can change different watch faces and things like that. Relatively easy in the app. Another thing that I will say, and I don't know if this is software or hardware related, it could be both, but I'll throw it under software. Whenever I'm doing heart rate stuff, it's fine. It gets a read that quick. It tells me what my heart rate was 4 minutes ago. And then skin temperature. So skin temperature, it'll tell you that quickly. And I think, I have not been sick since I've had this watch, but I think it can kind of predict if you're not feeling well, if you're sick, based on heart rate variability and your skin temperature. So that's a pretty cool, neat feature. All right, folks, I wanted to hop in here and go over something that I missed in this part of the video, and that is talking about the blood oxygen sensor. So earlier on, I felt like I was getting some good readings, some steady readings, and then towards the latter part of the first week and a half I had the watch, I felt like the sensor was hit and miss. So that's something I wanted to note. I definitely think it can give you some good readings, but depending upon the band you're wearing and how you're holding your wrists, it can be a little bit flaky. So let's go ahead and hop back into the video. We are almost to the end. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue. There's no ECG on this device, so that is something that you're going to be missing from your Apple Watch if you have, like, I think a Series 7 or later. You just want to keep that in mind. A couple things I didn't try out is like Zep Pay, which I may get into a follow-up review maybe 3 or 6 months down the road. And then also like the voice control, I think it's called Zep Flow. When I tried to use it briefly, it said I had to have the app open on my phone and have the phone in Bluetooth range. So I don't think that's as intuitive and as user-friendly or powerful as Siri. Even though on the Apple Watches, it does use the phone for Siri. Like, it doesn't do it on the watch unless you have an Apple Watch Ultra 2, I believe. So there's that. So obviously your experience is going to be curtailed a little bit if you have iOS, and then also because this watch is only $100. So, just keep that in mind. Measure your expectations, but I think for $100, especially if you have not had a smartwatch, you'll be blown away. Just the customization, you can just go to Walmart and get bands, or go to Target and get standard bands. You don't even have to wait on Amazon if you're not a Prime user, or Temu, or wherever you get those things from. On the app, like I said, it's very easy to use. You can change watch faces, change all kinds of settings, and it's just a good experience. Again, not as polished as iOS, and I think watchOS is going to be like more polished than most Android experiences because that ecosystem is very tight. With the integration, one thing I noticed also was the fact that I could have Siri set an alarm on my phone when I had my Apple Watch, and it would go off on my watch. That is not the case with this watch. So it did go off on my phone, not on the watch. You can set a timer on the watch for it to go off and do that just there if you're away from your phone. So there's no big deal there, but there's just some of those things that if you're in iOS, they have such a tailored experience that it might throw you off. iOS, it probably has about 70% of the functionality of an Apple Watch, which I know there's a 30% gap. But again, you're going to be paying a lot more money for an Apple Watch. All in all, I highly recommend this. If I was going to give this watch a rating, I would give it, I don't know, I'm going to say 8.5 out of 10, you know. Alrighty, folks. So in this part of the video, I'm just going to show you some of the functions on the watch and how it works. So first of all, this is the watch face. And just like on an Apple Watch, you can hold this down. So you can hold it down and then you can scroll through the watch faces. There are some that are automatically on here. So I like that, to where there's several that are pre-installed. They're pretty popular faces. Like if you have the red band, you know, you'd want to go with this one. And they load relatively quickly. You know, this one, if you're wearing, you know, the black. So these are kind of the more sport-oriented faces. I like that you can change the watch face for the occasion that you're at. So this would be the one that I'd wear to work and most non-athletic occasions. Sorry about the glare on the watch. And then if you want to check like the battery life and everything, you can look at that. You can set, you know, sleep mode on or off. You can see the date. You can see the battery life. You can go to configuration, that kind of thing. So that's neat. This is how you go back to the home screen, the top right button. And when you do that, if you're doing a workout, you'll do this. And then you'll just scroll up and pick the workout. So like I was saying with strength training, here's what it looks like. And one of the things I don't like is by default, it starts speaking. Like I really don't want my watch to speak and give me like information like that when I'm at the gym. So that is kind of annoying. But yeah, you can press the button here.
Set 1 time 17 seconds.
Yeah, and you do the sets, but I'm not really a fan of that, you know. And then you can set the number of sets that you're doing, that kind of thing. And then to stop it, you just press this top button and you can click finish. We don't want that to be saved. I'll show you the outdoor running one. GPS positioning in open areas is faster. And it does the GPS, and you can see it says locating there. So it's pretty cool. Like I'm indoors right now, so I don't know. It may struggle a little bit to find the location. I've only used it outside. So anyway, we'll do this. And like I was saying, like if you are somebody who's like a diehard fitness person, I'd probably go with Garmin. But see, it'll give you a notification that says wait. So we can do that. The GPS is locked on now. We can hit go.
Start workout.
And, you know, again, it gives you, you know, some verbal voice cues, which is pretty cool. So that's how that works. And it tells you your pace and everything like that, and finish. So, I mean, it's a pretty clean setup. You know, the phone is, the watch is fast, you know, like it's pretty quick. So this will show you your readiness score if you sleep with it on. When you swipe this way, you can see your stand time, your steps. It'll show you your steps from yesterday. So I like that, how you have easy access to that. I think that's pretty dope. And then you see your weather here. So the face is very, very nice. It shows you your heart rate. We're going to close that. I know the battery's low. But yeah, that's pretty sweet. And then back to the home screen. Swiping from here, you can go to songs. You know, your typical stuff that you use is all right here. And you can edit this here to show you a missed call, that sort of thing. Here's what I'm talking about with the interface. So that's nice. It's a nice interface, but it definitely steals from Apple. Yeah, the interfaces are all nice, like whether you go in. I like how like you can see what the high and the low is going to be for that day. And then you can kind of see things here. You can see the forecast for the week. So I don't want to show you my text messages, but like the phone log. One of the good things about this, I'll just go off into this little bunny trail right now, is that this watch can be used with iOS and it can be used with Android. So if you're somebody who may switch in the future, or if you have this watch and you're gonna resell it or give it to somebody or buy it as a gift for someone, it's really cool that it works well with iOS and Android. And so I think that's a major plus, especially in the gift department.